Domestic violence is on the rise but underreported in Cameroon. Today, campaigners say official figures account for only a fraction of women who have suffered or even died at the hands of their partners. And for those seeking justice, advocates say successful prosecutors are rare due to the failing and corruption of the judicial system. But why the rise in domestic violence in Cameroon today? Now, who should be blamed for that? You're watching Canal, the International, and the program is Women and Leadership. We'll be right back after the In Cameroon, just like in most countries around the globe, violence against women and girls is a preoccupying reality. But what is not, what is the root cause of domestic violence in our communities today? That's the problematic, a problem we will be examining, and we've invited just the finest brain, just women, to tell us more about the experiences and solutions to domestic violence. They are leaders in the different domains. You can equally watch past editions of programs. You just need to go to Canal the International on YouTube, and on our Facebook page you type Canal the International and you watch all our past editions. We'll be right back after the jingle. And let the conversation begin. It's time for us to know who our guests are. Like I said, they are the best, I would say, in their domains. And I will always want to insist on experts in the issues we are treating concerning women. I'll start with someone that is very close to me. She's a face you always see on TV. She's someone that is always very close to families. She's called Dr. Fawn Elizabeth. She is a CEO of Toujours Center. Dr. Fawn Elizabeth, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, over a year. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to talk about issues that affect families, not only women, families, children, mothers-in-law, grandparents, everybody in the family, affecting the society, affecting job performance. Violence against women is a real problem. We need to talk about it.
And that's why Toujours Center was created.
Yes.
To handle cases of violence, marital problems. We'll have time to talk about Toujours Center. We equally have CV Dongmo. She is the Africa Regional Representative of Women International League for Peace and Freedom. She has been upgraded to another level, right? I know you as the president in Cameroon, but now you are at the regional level. Now, how do you try to blend the two?
Thank you so much. That's exactly why we have the General Assembly, to give me the opportunity to concentrate on my work at the regional level. I've been the Africa representative since 2018, but I was also the Cameroon president. So that's why we thought it wise, and also I've had my 2 mandates to hand over to another person to take over from me and continue the work.
All right, we equally have Ebong Elad Epus Ongon Adele. She is a former delegate of Women Empowerment and the Family at the level of Douala 2. You're welcome to the program, Madame the Delegate.
Thank you, Maureen.
But just to make our audience know that you've gone on retirement just 3 weeks ago.
Oh, yes.
After working for how many years?
After 12 years in MINPROF and 35 years in the civil.
The public service.
In the public service as a civil servant. So, any topic on women, I feel concerned. Okay. Because as a woman, you should handle anything that is defeating women.
Okay. All right, we'll have enough time to talk about what the women empowerment, what the Ministry of Women Empowerment has been doing to ameliorate the life of women across Cameroon. We equally have someone who just got in the studio. You heard some noise. She's called Erica Fongu, head of the Customer Service T&T Express. Now, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
I'm sure because of traffic or work that you had to come late.
Yeah.
So
there was a lot of traffic.
All right, now we're here to thank you so much for coming. Now, I think the conversation begins. I want to start by asking about domestic violence. And we've had statistics has been on the rise. communities, families are crying, women have died, we have orphans, all of these linked to domestic violence. I want to start with Dr. Fon Elizabeth. Now, when you look at communities today, how do you rate domestic violence in Cameroon today?
It's so sad that in Africa we really we don't have a lot of statistics because many people don't like to talk about this subject. It's like a taboo subject. How do you go and say that your husband is beating on you? You try to cover up. You try to put makeup on your face if he hits you so that people will not know. You might be a big woman in society. People might be looking up to you and you don't know what to do. So you kind of cover up. We don't have the statistics to ascertain that there is an increase in domestic violence in our society, but we can hear the cry of people, and we can see the signs and symptoms around us. So I guess that we can do studies, anonymous studies, so that people can fill out a questionnaire to see if they've experienced domestic violence or not. That would really help us.
Now, since you have someone at the Ministry of Women Empowerment and the Family, maybe we could ask you the question, do you have statistics at the level of your ministry on the growing violence, domestic violence on women in Cameroon today?
Of course, there is some statistics, but I must say that these statistics are not fireable. It don't say what is going on the field, in the families, in the quarters, in the society at all, because as we know, laws and regulations are not what are followed by families members. What is regulating families is the community rules, the traditional rules,
The culture.
yes, thank you. And according to the culture, you cannot take out your
Family problems.
Yes.
And expose them.
Yes, you cannot expose your family because this is intimate problem. So those who come to us are those who are out of the bearable.
All right. Can we say the absence of statistics has contributed to what we have today?
Yes, but I want to say that I remember in 2019, the World Bank indicated that 1 over 3 women has suffered violence in her life, over the world, globally. So that's why they call it a pandemic. It's one of the most prevalent human rights violations, violence against women. So at least we have this statistic from World Bank, because they also say that 35% of women globally have suffered violence, and 38% of women have been murdered by a partner in their life. So these are some of the statistics that we have globally. And we also conducted a gender conflict analysis in Cameroon, which gave us some figures. But as she indicated, we really need to have national figures, because we know that because of what Doctor mentioned, people don't want to talk about it publicly because of the tradition and so on. They still to hide. So I engage women that we really need to come out with look for strategies to enable women to speak out, and to also enable men to speak out, and also make sure that there is a conducive environment so that the ministry or the government feel that we are working towards the same objective. Because sometimes at the level of some delegation, I'm not talking about me, and many others, they will not give you statistics because it's a private.
Is it that they are trying to hide something, or there's a hidden agenda somewhere?
Yes, most of the thing that meanwhile is really to make a case. Because if you want our advocacy, our sensitization to succeed, we need to have cases. We are not calling names, but at least we should understand the danger of the problem by showing the statistic. Because each time you mention the cases, statistic, people feel hurt, and then they have the tendency of acting more. So it's very important.
Because when I talk about statistics, I mean that if the statistics is growing, and it's government will like try to resolve the problem. But if we just like say it's because if we have people feel the pain in community, but we don't have anything to prove that it is a growing trend, then there is a problem somewhere. But Erica, for some time we're talking about domestic violence. It's not something we'll be seeing today.
Exactly.
Something that dates even 5 years, 10 years back, and it seems to be worsening by the day. Now, is it becoming an acceptable norm in society today?
I think it's something that we should not accept. Thank you, Maureen, for inviting me to your program. This is very sensitive to me because there's so many women dying, so many people losing their lives because they are actually going through a domestic violence and they cannot come out and talk. I want our sisters, I want our neighbors, I want our cousins, our relatives should come out. They should be able to say if or not they are going through domestic violence. With or without their consent, I pledge and I pray that we take them out of those marriages, with or without their consent, because if we do not do that, they will die. And we have ourselves to blame. First of all, yourself should come first before any other thing. You are primary to your own self. Any other relationship is secondary. Your pastor, your religious leaders, whosoever is advising you to stay in a marriage that can cost your life, say no to it and come out of it. Because if you do not, you can just lose your life.
All right, the fact that people like women don't denounce, have they like accepted it? I
want to, after my sister,
Okay.
I want to honestly say that.
All right.
Doctor mentioned something at the beginning of the program. You cannot blame women 100%.
Okay.
Because let's look at the gender roles. The society in which women are. You grow up knowing that this is the role that you have to play as a woman. They are gender stereotypes. So women are confined to a certain position. So they don't think out of the box. They grow up knowing that this is the norm. And boys also grow up knowing that this is the norm. So that is where things should start.
Okay.
Yeah, so these are the gender stereotypes. So sometimes women do not even know that they are doing wrong by accepting certain things. And men also do not know that they are doing wrong by, they know that beating a woman is just normal in some houses.
In some cultures.
In some cultures. So we should question. That's where
That's what we're trying to look at.
Growing up,
We look at the root cause.
educational
The
background.
root cause of domestic
and
violence.
yes, we should look at the root cause of domestic violence, because when looking at it, they will be able to have solutions. Because what we are talking now about bringing the women out is just at the level, but what is the real problem?
That's what we're talking about here.
Yes.
What is the cause? What is the real
I agree with you that denouncing the men or the women will not really help us. It will make people to go underground and not report. The day that we've had a famous woman being killed, may her soul rest in peace, Madame Osinachi. The day that we'll have a famous man being killed by the wife, then we'll understand that we needed the two of them to be able to talk, to solve their problem. Denouncing the man will not help. Tell me, Maureen, a woman who is not working, we can always say the woman will do this, do this. My mother had 10 of us. Thank God, my father never beat on her. But I remember that as children, they used to have their problems.
They had their problems, but
No, they had their problems. But my father never raised a hand on her. Papa, thank you, may your soul rest in peace. But then that didn't stop them from having problems, you understand? They had their problems. But today when I think about it, if it were to reach a stage where my mother had to leave, my mother was an only child, an orphan. She didn't have any brothers. She had one stepsister, 10 children. You leave a man's house with 10 children. Where are you going to stand? Where do you start? Okay, you can say people can help. Where are the structures, the government structures that are set in place to receive these battered women? To teach them skills that they can learn, to be able to sustain their children. Where are the structures where they can pay school fees for the children? Because the children become delinquent when they leave and the mothers cannot take care of them. Or they might want to leave, the father will hold on the children. There have been cases like that. You don't take my child. The father might be a powerful man who is able now to go and bribe the corrupt justice system.
Does it mean that because you have kids and the man is beating on you, you have to just stay
No,
back?
no, I'm saying that every family is unique. Every family is unique. Every case is unique. We cannot generalize.
Okay.
That's why I would say that as a girl child, you have to be economically stable. If you're economically stable, there are certain things you will not take because you depend solely on a man. If you're depending solely on a man, it means that you cannot even leave his house, even if he's beating you. You will stay there because you know you don't have an option. You're staying there because you know that he takes care of everything. But if you're economically stable, you can make some decisions for yourself. You can as well make sure your kids grow up making sure that they empower themselves. They don't just stay in a man's house without doing anything.
So
they contribute.
It means that most of the women will stay back and women wouldn't have
so
anything.
Many cases.
They don't have
exactly.
Doing,
so many
because
cases.
I can see doctor looking back at
I'm
you.
serious. So many cases will stay because they say, what is the future of my kids? What would I do if I leave this man's house? I don't have anything to hold on.
But you stay back and you're killed and his kids remain and the man gets married to another man?
When you are empowered, you will not even think of staying back.
So that's a wrong message to the African man.
I think we should start by...
Woman's empowerment and woman's autonomy. That's the wrong message to the African man. He's going to fight the woman more. I think that empowering the woman and the man together should be our objective. As it is, we empower women a lot. We give them economic activities and so on. We tell them to leave, but then we forget the men. Nobody is talking about them.
So the men should come on board.
Okay. We should take from the reality.
Okay.
What are we talking about? Which sort of domestic violence are we talking about? Because
we have different forms.
Yes, there are so many domestic violence. When you are a child, in some communities, girls are exercised. Oui,
that is violence.
Yeah, that is violence. And this violence is so
traumatic
for the victims that they cannot even go over some incoming resources activities. They cannot because it is so
traumatizing.
It is so traumatizing. So there is this excision. There is this
female genital mutilation.
Yes, female genital mutilation. There is also this widowhood.
Rights.
Yes, widowhood rituals. Which widow, which man who lost his wife have they ever taken to the river to wash him? Which man who lost his wife have they ever taken to the market to let the community know that he's a widow? There is also this fact of selling younger teenagers to marriage before the age of 15.
Before you even get any economic activity.
So, how can she cope with the marriage? So there is so many forms who are already going on, and the girls who are not prepared cannot cope already in the marriage. They cannot cope.
She's obliged to just stay in there and take whatever comes in.
Of course.
We're talking about the different forms of violence here. But what is more trending now is domestic violence, the physical beating, or the battering of a woman in a house, the man punching her every day. We'll have women are dying. Now, CV, I want to ask this question. If it means you don't have anything economically doing or any job or any business, are you obliged to stay in that marriage because you have kids in there? and you have to protect your kids, but you allow the man to beat you every day. I don't tell anybody about it, but you're in associations, you're in jangi groups, you're in meetings, you go to church, you confine it to yourself. Now, how do you handle such a case?
Yes, I feel that it's a holistic thing. Why am I saying it? Because there was a study that was conducted by Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center in the whole African continent because of the increased violence against women. So the study was not in Cameroon, but all the African. And the result was very clear. That is a pandemic. Let me just put it like that. It is a pandemic. So that's why in the findings, during the 20th anniversary of 1325 in New York, one of the recommendations was to look for innovative strategies to address this pandemic. And one of it was to work with local actors. Yes, local actors to address that. Why local actors? Because I want to mention something that she indicated. Men, boys are some of the local actors. The authority, because one of the key root causes is the low level of prosecution. Yes, because the other men would think that they have the go ahead to continue doing it. And the level of impunity. And regarding your question, women don't feel that they must stay because, but I want to tell you there are cases where the man said that you can't have a party, even after they are married, they are still threatened. So that is why we should, it's a one-to-one case. You cannot have a general approach for all the cases. When you listen to a woman, then you know how best to address
help her, yeah.
yes, to support her. Because just going out is not a solution. Some are ready to kill. I had cases just 2 weeks ago. A woman in Yaoundé, she has been battered for years. Now she went to complain at the gendarmerie at Yaoundé. And they have called him that if he wrote, but he said that I'm going to kill you and kill myself. So it now depends on the different cases that we do have. But I really feel that the approach that was proposed by Kofi Annan after this study to work with local actors is extremely important. It means that, let me take Douala 1, for example. In Douala 1, the civil society organization should work with the government officials, with the traditional leaders, with the religious authorities, with the magistrate and so on. There should be a coordination mechanism so that when I have a case,
on the field too.
Yes, of course.
To talk with the women.
I have a case. When we go to the field, like we do all the time, we have community meetings, dialogue with women. When we have cases, I can know that I can refer to doctors' organization. I can know that I can do this. So the coordination is extremely important, and working at the local level is extremely important. And we should not make sure that we don't put all the cases in the same basket. But my advice is for women to, of course, their head is not the basket. It's a calabash, let me put it like this. So they should try and speak out and look for ways. If they see that speaking out in a certain way is dangerous, they should speak in confidentiality. Then they will be able to help her accordingly.
All right, Doctor, you want
Yes, please. I wanted to say that punishing the men, when you have laws that really punish the men hard, like in the US, we realize that they punish the men very well. But what happens? The society, the children who stay in these unstable family situations, crime wave is more there, drug wave is more. I mean, studies have been done. We don't have to go the American way, you understand? Punishing the men, putting them in prison. Most black families in America, they are in prison. 71% of the children who are born to black families, black girls, are without the fathers in the house. Those are the children who will be on drugs. Those are the children who become delinquent and so on. So you are solving one problem and creating another. I think that we should look for our own solution in Cameroon.
All right.
And
before we come to solution, we're still on the root causes of domestic violence. And the question I want to ask is, are women not responsible for this too?
Yes, they are also.
Yes, I can say even 80% of the women are responsible for accepting domestic violence and promoting it. Why? Because if you make your husband know your values, then he will not lay his hands on you. If you make sure that you're, first of all, economically stable, he will not beat you. If he knows that if he puts his hand on you, he has this as a consequence, he will not. If you also contributes to the family 50%, he would not lay a hand on you. But because if he knows that you're nothing, you're just there feeding on his salary, he's going to beat you.
You see, you're very clear.
Oh, no, for real. He will.
All right.
In a sense.
Okay.
For me, for two reasons, I can say women are responsible because of their silence. And because some of them, they will not say that I am Sylvie, I am Dr. This, I am the woman, the wife of
this.
Yes, they want to refer to
themselves
through their
husbands.
So they have to accept who they are. So their silence and their extreme dependency on someone to survive is what I can say that is a problem for women. But as I say, I cannot blame them 100% because that's why we have education going on, because we have to educate and sensitize women to understand, because of this is the gender roles, they are grounded in our minds, all of us. That's why it's now that we understand that in the house we should not allow the boy to be playing football when the girl is. But we used to do it, we thought that it was very good, but as time goes on, we understand that these gender roles are the result, are the one that brings all this division within the family.
Of us not doing our jobs as parents.
We as parents, we as women, women's rights organization, we should continue our work of educating and sensitizing women so that they understand that they have a role to play in combating that. I want to say one last thing. Okay. To refer to what Doctor was saying about some of these strategies. Like we have started a project, and the project emanated from the findings on the field that women and men should not be separated as looking for solution to this.
Yeah.
So the project is engaging men and boys for peace building.
Yeah.
When we say peace building, it's about fighting violence and so on and so forth. Yeah. We have to engage the boys from primary school, from secondary school,
teach them how to
pamper.
I mean, their sisters and
not just teach them that the girl and the boys are equal. They have the same, they are brothers and sisters.
They're human beings.
They are human beings, as she said, as simple as that. And as they grow, they will know that they have to respect. Yes, and the men should also know that they should work hand in hand with women. And then women's right is not mean fighting the men. It's for the interest of the family. And in this project, we targeted and we are working with traditional leaders because we now know that when the traditional leaders, with the position they have in the community, they speak out, their message is heard. So that's why this is one of the strategies that we are making by engaging men and boys. And this happened through community meetings where we have men in a table, boys, and then we just discuss. In chance, somebody told us that moi, I cannot. So it was like, how can I wash a dish? At the end of the community dialogue, he said, it's clear now. I used to make a mistake. I didn't know that it's building on my family's expenses to support the woman.
All right, Madam Delegate, I want to ask you, most of these women come to the delegation to tell you what you're going through, their pain. What do they tell you? And what makes them stay back in their homes?
Thank you, Madam Maureen. Some of them come and they think they are married, while they are not even really married because they don't have the marriage certificate. That is the beginning of the fall apart. And so they have already children. The husband is not feeding well, he's not providing for every need very well, so they want us to call him, to battle with him, to tell him his duties and their rights, the women. But we start by telling them, Madam, before entering are you married? Yes, we are married in the church, in the community. Okay, this one is not the right marriage. You should get married in the civil,
the mayor's office,
to the civil official, to the mayor. That is the right place to get married. Because when you go to the church first, your marriage is not valid. And now you are already in the house, you have already children, the community or the church asks you not to have an income activity, and now you don't know what to do. We should first start by sensitize you yourself, sensitize your husband, so you must bring him here, and we must sensitize also the whole community, the religious authority, because they are those implementing that way of bringing things up.
All right.
Yes, and it is against every humanity. The women are getting violated because they believe what they told them, what they used to tell them in church. But once at home, once when they are facing their matrimonial homes, that is where they see that the reality is something else. And it is not a problem of some association or what, so whatever. It is a problem of the whole community, of the whole of the state.
Okay.
Because I think the education must start there. Someone was talking about humanity. Since when you get married, they pay your dowry. You can be considered just like a domestic or like a stool in your husband's house.
It's a compensation. It's
So,
not a purchase. You
so
don't
many
buy a
things
human being.
before this humanity gets recognized by everyone. I think so many things must change, and it must change for good in the whole.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I want to
Maureen.
Mentioning something very important about
Okay.
dowry.
Okay.
This dowry issue is very important. Yes.
That's our
Family
traditional
should
culture.
No, family should be advised.
Yes.
Because at some point, men feel that they have spent so much that they have
They have every right over
Yes.
you. They can just do
And
anything since they've paid a lot of
parents
money on
should
your
also know
head.
that it's your daughter, your cherished daughter. And marriage is just a symbolic thing between two families. You are not selling it to your daughter. You are not. So this makes other people spend all their economies for 10 years. And therefore, the least thing that you do in the couple, you get angry because of the money that he spent. It's not a reason.
Yola, that brings me
it's
to
not a
this.
reason.
Maureen,
All right.
about 90% of the people who get married, they get married for love. I have questionnaires at the Toujours Center where people feel, why did you get married? We got married for love. 90% they get married for love.
Okay.
There is a problem.
The statistics.
There's no guiding of these couples when they get married. I always say it. Marriage is a chemical reaction of the brain, of the limbic brain, that binds the people together, where you secrete oxytocin and dopamine. That is why when you try to reason with somebody who is in love, they don't understand. But after the honeymoon, that's why they call it a honeymoon, because it's 1 month. The chemicals start reducing. And that's when they come to reality. It's at that time that they need guidance. And in our society, we don't guide them. Many men who come to the center, they'll say, my wife provoked me to anger. That's why I slapped her. So I asked him, I said, sir, you work not so? Yes. When your patron provokes you into anger, do you slap your patron? He said, no. I said, what do you do? He said, I control my anger. He said, but then when you are at home, I really am sorry that nobody has taught you to control your anger at home, which is true. Nobody guides them. They go on in their marriage like that as best they can. They have problems, the two of them. Nobody has taught the woman about non-violent communication, about stress management. She too has her stress, is taking care of the children the whole day. It's not easy. Managing, pinching, 5 francs, not easy. Just the husband talking with her, saying, I understand. You are doing a great job. It will help. But who has ever told that husband?
It is because of that they institute the celebration of collective marriage to teach couples how to behave once married, how to handle their couple, how to handle their family, and how to handle the bigger family, the bigger African family, and how to be non-violent.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, but I want us to watch this report on the woman who was beaten to death by her husband at the Bepanda neighborhood. It happened right here in Cameroon's economic city, Douala. I want us to watch the story. We'll be right back after the jingle.
Last night's beating was not the first. It was the last straw that broke the camel's back. After enduring 8 years of abuse, Rosine Fotso, 37-year-old businesswoman in Bepanda Douala 5, succumbed to death after being tortured by her lover. Their former landlord drove him away because of repeated violence against his lover. According to eyewitnesses, while Rosine fought between life and death, the alleged murderer sought the help of a nurse in the neighborhood, but the nurse refused to inject his dying lover. Ajak Joe, assisted by some neighbors, dropped Rosine here near Rue des Heures in an attempt to escape the population's fury. Ajak Joe lied the lady was electrocuted. When we arrived, she was still breathing. We carried her on our back. Then later, I decided to rush and look for a taxi, but by the time I got back, I discovered she was already dead. Rosine has been declared dead in the Deido hospital with a probability of electrocution, but a close relative who does not want to be identified says the murder case stems out of a conflict between the deceased and her lover over a piece of land. The family explains there was a problem evolving around a piece of land. She was being tortured. There are some neighbors who say they are aware of it. Rosine Fotso, a mother of 4 children, beaten and pushed into her early grave. Her lover is presently under police custody. This murder case has again proven how violence against the woman is on rampage.
Let's get together and fight it away from the home. Domestic violence.
Shocking images. Saw your reaction from the women here in the studio. Doctor, after watching the report and the images, women were being battered by their husbands. We are looking at solutions. We have a few more minutes left. Now, I'm looking at the role of families. Hearing that your daughter is being beaten by the husband as a mother, what do you do?
The truth is that some of the women are married to mental patients. When you look at those images, the man is a mental patient. And you know, in our Africa, we think mental patients are those who move naked on the streets. Education is very important. Because if the husband and wife, in their moments of communication, realize that we have a mental case on our hands, they start looking for solutions together.
I know a case of a woman who suffered for so many years, and she kept going to the family. They would say that, no, it's going to be okay. Not really taking the pain to listen to her profound distress. Until one day, she went on top of the river, she dropped 1, 2, 3 of the children, and then she fell on them and she died. And she left a letter that she has been complaining for years. Nobody bears to say that family should pay great attention to women in distress. You mentioned the lady who died in Nigeria. This is one of the cases. She was singing her distress. So there are signs of distress, and then we should, as women, as family members, at different levels, Prof and others, pay a listening ear.
That's what I'm asking
and when
about
a woman says that
families.
she is in trouble, please,
Listen.
let's listen and give the proper solution, including bringing her out. Because I know even in the court, they will say, at the beginning, some women came, but we say that arrangement à l'amiable. At the end of the day, we heard that she was killed. So even in court, they are very conscious of that. So having a listening ear is extremely important.
That's why I asked, because will you allow your daughter to die?
No way.
Because she is
no.
married to
no.
man Erica. Because we have families that they get these pains, they do nothing to help their daughters.
My responsibility as a woman is to make sure that I give her the good base, the right education, give her, seriously, we're failing as parents.
But you wouldn't do that for the person who
We're
married
failing
her.
as parents. If you empower your girl child, she will enter in a marriage powerfully as well. And maybe the level at which that marriage is going to be toxic, it's going to reduce somehow. What is happening today in this world is that we have spiritual leaders that don't orientate us well.
Yeah, they're
They
just interested
stand and
in.
tell you that pray for your marriage. Be there, no matter what happens, endure. And at the end of the day, you lose your life. You lose your life.
It's not
All right, all right. Before I come to you, Madam Delegate, Doctor, I want to ask you a question. Now, when is the right time to step out of the marriage? When it's a toxic marriage, it's an abusive marriage.
Think
because
if you
most women
beaten
out there
once-
will say if the man lays hand on you the first time, you leave.
No,
Is that the right thing to do?
No, the truth is that you have to
Let's be
leave.
real.
You have to leave. Let him understand that. And as we say to the men, your boss in the office insults you, you don't lay hands on your boss. Why should you do that on your wife? When the wife leaves, he will realize that it's serious. Then people can help them now to start building back, getting the tools that they need to manage their stress. And you know, mindset is very important in this violence now. Madam, you say that. I mean, Facebook has destroyed many marriages because young people want to be successful on Facebook. And if I'm not successful, it's my wife, it's my husband, and things like that, especially for young people. Mindset is very important. Getting the tools is important. So the first time somebody lays a hand on you, leave, run and go and see your family. Run and go and see a counselor. Run and go to court. I mean, go and see the doctor.
And make sure it never happens.
Yes. And if the man is not accountable, because what we do at the center is that we get them together, we give them tools, and then they're accountable every month. They have exercises to do, anger management exercises, communication.
All right, let's take it this way. Okay, if he lays hand on you the first time, you accept it, doesn't mean it's going to happen the second, the third, and you're going to call it punching back and you end up dying. Because we discover that most women, they don't say it. They don't.
It's that the number one.
Let me say something.
They accept. Is it because you accept at the beginning?
Maureen, please let me say something. You know, we have African men. We understand our culture, but we should not go stereotype on it. What I'm trying to say is that we have to be loyal as women to our men. It is normal. But then, how do you say that a woman is loyal? If a woman depends on you, on everything, she'll be loyal. But if she has her own, and she still respects you as a man, that's a loyal woman. Because you men, you want to deprive your wife of everything because you want her to succumb to you, because you want her to be loyal to you. No. Loyalty is when you have it all and then you respect your man. That's why I will still go back to the point that we all have to be economically stable as women. we have to get that stability. When you get that stability, and you look at your husband and say, honey, I want to go to Paris, maybe for a trip. And he says, you're not going, your bank account is loaded. But you say, okay, I will not go because you say I'm not going. That's loyalty. That's not when you just came back from the village, you don't have anything. You depend on him for everything. And then he says, you're not going. You say, okay, I'm not going because he's giving you the money.
That's for a career woman, right?
Exactly.
That's for a career woman. We are talking about, what about the woman who is not that career type? So there are lots of...
And not all women are going to be career women.
And not all women are career women.
That's
but they are suffering out there and they're going through this domestic violence. And Madam Delegate, now what is the role? What have we been doing to help these women? We have a call center in Douala where women should go and denounce. But women don't. Very few women. I've been at the call center. Very few women go there to denounce. What is the problem?
The problem is what we said just before, at the beginning of the program. It is a personal problem. It is a personal affair. It is a family affair. They don't take it out. But now, the authority have seen some means to lower the statistics. It is to write down on the casier judiciaire. Casier judiciaire, how do they say it in English?
Just go ahead.
Yes, it is to write down on this casier judiciaire of any man who raised his hand on his
penal
wife.
code, I think.
Yes, yes, that he is a violent.
Does it mean that when the woman comes to delegation, you take the woman feels at form? Is that what you're talking about?
No, that is not the woman now. The man, the husband, who raised his hand on his wife,
okay,
or children. They will write on his. They will at the court now.
Okay. It's an article.
Yes, yes. They will
write a tag on him.
Yes, they will put a tag on his fee, on his
file.
Yes, that
is a criminal.
He is a violent person.
Okay.
And this way.
But how effective is that? How many men have we seen being tagged that or say
on
their files?
It is still to be implemented, but
it has not been implemented.
It is already on the way.
All right.
Being implemented because many meetings have been going on.
So for now it goes unpunishable, and why the women are suffering.
Yeah.
And
so you were asking the question, why don't they speak out?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some reasons for that. I've tried to see the weight of the tradition, the culture of some. Yeah. She mentioned the services, access to services. Extreme dependency on the man to survive, the absence of protection. Once you go and
there's nobody to protect her.
There's nobody to protect her. So
the man will come again.
So that's another problem, and the lack of confidence. So it's also something that and the fear of reprisal. Because she'll go there and then she will be maybe punished, in quotes, by the husband, because you went and betrayed me, you see me now.
So and the family.
And the family.
Yes, and then
the community, the church community, the church community.
They consider her as a bad woman.
Yeah.
So this length that are on her make her to shy back. So that's why it's very important to address these root causes. Yes, it's extremely important. And build the women confidence and make sure that's why we say that coordination of this is extremely important. Because in coordinating, we know who to refer to and what to do at a certain point. Talking about the cases of women still, even from the journalist perspective, even the way the journalists communicate on this, sometimes it's a problem. It is a problem. It's putting the women at higher risk. Most of the time you see the image of the woman who's victim or survivor on but you will not see the person who raped. Exactly. So, of course, it's because of the emotion.
And that's why
you
need to protect,
at the end of the day,
the faces. You don't
the person who raped is hidden somewhere, but the woman was raped, her image is everywhere on Facebook.
I know.
And so on. So that's why coordination, I feel that I buy the recommendation of Kofi Annan. Working at local communities and making sure the action is coordinating. Let's come back to Douala 5. Journalists, civil society organization, government official, private sector, we
the
try
men.
and yes, the men, of course.
The men.
Try
Because
to
for
work
me,
hand in hand to make sure that no space is left untouched.
Yeah. Because in our companies today, Maureen, how many directors of companies organize workshops where they take the men as a must that they must learn conflict resolution skills at home? How many? And if the men don't know, will they teach their boy children? No. So in the end, we are bringing up generations of violent men. They are there in the offices there.
But we don't need to wait.
We don't need to wait.
Working.
Yeah.
We should introduce that into
We
our
should introduce that now.
education.
I want to take by from doctor to say how many men bring. I want to come back to our agenda. You know that there are some frameworks that can be used to address this. 1325 Security Council resolution is one of these, which recognize the impact of conflict on women and girls, and the fact that they are not part of the solution. So one of the recommendations that we made in the current National Action Plan that the government is about to publish is that it should be localized. The localization is going to address exactly what doctor is saying here. At all levels, family level, school level, company level, there should be mechanism to address violence. There should be mechanism to preach peace, for peace education. So it's extremely important that they, of course, they have accepted to have it localized. In all the 360 communities, we should have local action plan to ensure that at level, in Canal, in Canal, in the companies, at the court level, at every level, there are mechanisms
and
for
tools.
peace education, tools for peace education, for fight against gender
Let's not
violence.
just talk about it.
Don't you think there's a problem of communication here too?
There is a problem of communication. Maureen, we are talking about this, but we don't even have the tools. If I say in Cameroon, where are the tools that families can use to resolve problems? We don't have the tools that have to be implemented everywhere, in secondary school, in high school, in the university, in companies, a handbook that tells the men the way to talk to women. This year in our CMF study material, they asked me to write an article on what women want from men and what men want from women.
That's completely.
Yes.
What Maureen is saying is one of the shortcomings of the last National Action Plan, lack of proper communication mechanism.
Yes.
So that's one of the recommendations, that all this framework should have a proper communication mechanism, so that at every level people know what to do.
What if all associations or church groups or wherever women are found to come together to look at this as a common problem?
Of course, that's why
they can fight it. Because if you fight at your individual level, it would never,
when
it cannot
Kofi
be easily
Annan
tackled.
came to Cameroon, it was the fourth step after Nigeria, Ghana, and Niger. Cameroon was the fourth step where Kofi Annan brought all stakeholders, including defense officials and so on, civil society, religious leaders, for them to start something global that is not working in isolation. So I agree 100%, but that's what is being done now. But it should be done at local level to make sure that to make sure that the problem is addressed in all the.
We're getting to the end of the program, but I want to ask Dr. Fon Elizabeth, since she has a tertiary, a center where she tries to handle such problems now. How do you detect a toxic marriage?
A toxic marriage, you can always know when you look at a woman. A woman who is happy in her marriage.
Because when it is toxic, you know the man can always come in and...
You understand? Even if the woman wants to hide, you can see that this woman is not épanouie, like they say in French. She is stressed up. She cannot do those things. She cannot laugh easily. You can see signs and symptoms of stress. And when you dig further, she might not tell you that she's battered. But in the end, when you give her a listening ear and you give her empathy, she will break down and tell you what she's going through. So we can always know, even in church, there are women who are so sad in church. They tell them, pray. No, I don't want to pray. I don't know how to pray. A woman who is always withdrawn. You know, it's one of the signs of depression. A woman who is always withdrawn. Why is she withdrawn? Why is she depressed? And we always say that a man, and that's why I always want the men to come on board. A real man can be known by the size of the smile that is on the woman's face that is by him.
Very good.
If your woman cannot smile genuinely, you have failed as a man. It doesn't matter whether you give her money, you give her cars, you give her this, make her happy.
All right,
Yes.
1 minute, Madam Delegates.
Yes,
Your advice to women. I want you to look at the camera.
No, I want to ask you
Okay.
of the media
Okay.
to program maybe a weekly program or a monthly program for now, since you don't have this on your target now. I don't know. A weekly program every Wednesday afternoon, for example. You bring up leaders. Church leaders.
We're not going to end here.
No,
that for sure.
No. Of
We're
course,
going to have more programs on.
I mean something regular, permanent, to address,
Sensitize the public.
address and sensitize the public, the family.
Not when somebody dies, then we come.
They must know that. They must know that let's say every Sunday at 2 p.m. we have this program, this family program. That we
noted.
Yes, please.
All right, CV. 1 minute. Talk to women out there.
Women should break the silence. And I have a message to men also. I want to quote Madam Zuma when she was at the African Union. Men should look at their wife and consider that these are their daughters in somebody else's house and treat their wife
as
the
their
way
sisters.
they want their daughters to be treated in a marriage.
All right, Erica, you look at the camera and talk to women out there.
Okay. My advice to women is that marriage does not complete you as a human being, and love yourself, and you come first before any other thing. Any other thing is secondarily, but then love yourself as a human being, and you can fight for your marriage even in a distance, but you have to protect yourself.
All right, Doc.
I want to talk to the men, to the family. We need you, the men, to be on board with us. We always need our men. Please don't feel that when we talk about violence against women, we are accusing you. We are not accusing you, please. You don't know. You've never learned it. So come on board. Let's solve this problem together.
All right, just want to tell our audience out there that we tried bringing in some victims, but they all shied away because I wanted to have some women to give us some testimony of what they feel as pain, domestic violence, what they feel every day. I had 2 of them. Unfortunately, they could not make it here today, but I'm not going to stop there. I will insist, and I'll continue to press on them to come on board, because we need to pull women to denounce domestic violence. And we're not going to end. We're going to have more programs on domestic violence in our homes and see how we can bring solutions to them. The program was Women and Leadership. You're watching Canal the International. Thanks so much, and see you. Bye-bye.